Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This is actually the first YouTube video I'm actually making of, on a like a production scale. Most of the times I would just kind of film something, just throw it on my channel, just nonsense type of stuff. You're out and about, some short little clip. But I want to open this up with an interesting topic. And this has got to do with the GLP-1 medications that people take. And I'm just currently been put on that as I'm an Army veteran and I get mine through the VA. So for any of you veterans out there, this might be of interest to you as well. I go for annual physicals every year and basically, all my blood work looks good. Everything's, on the up and up. And my doctor just kind of always asks, like, what is there any other concerns that you have? So the one thing came up and I was like, well, I tend to have an issue with trying to lose weight these days. Like, there was a time when I was able to go through proper eating habits and dieting and things like that. The last one that worked really good with me is there was a book out by Mark Sisson called it was the Primal Diet or something like that, or Primal Eating. I can't remember exactly, but it kind of covers like a paleo diet more or less. And I went from, at that time, 225, 230, I went down to like 208 at the time. That was probably 12, 13 years ago. Worked then. Nowadays, that's not so easy. You get a little long in the tooth, which, I am. And sometimes then, conventional wisdom doesn't work no more, So in the end, what I wound up doing was I told her, I was like, yeah, so I could probably use a little help with this in some way. So they have the MOVE program there. And that's basically, you deal with having these conferences on telephones or these video conferencing, and you could do this with a group. Everybody kind of, they could discuss different aspects of handling proper, I guess, nutrition and medications that could supplement that. So the first thing they had me try before that was Qsemia. Took that for about 10 days. It goes in, it titrates, okay? So it goes from a lower dose to get your body familiar with it, then to a higher dose. After 10 days of this, I started to realize, I'm like, this shit is making me friggin' like jittery, because it's got stimulant in it, and it also was giving me like palpitations and stuff like that, which I said, yeah, I don't need that. That shit ain't cutting it for me. So I gave my doctor a note on that, and I said, look, that's not gonna work for me. I need something with no stimulant. So then she's like, all right, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put you with the pharmacy for, I guess they deal with, in terms of diet medications and stuff like that. So I go on this teleconference with the pharmacist, and there was a whole bunch of other people there too. And based on the information that your doctor has, I started out currently 240. I'm 5'9". My BMI was about 235.3 or something like that. So that put me right in that sweet spot where I qualified for GLP-1. I figured they're not going to give me that. That's not what I went on there for. I was willing to just, like, whatever. Just give me something that's non-stimulant. I was shocked they gave me that. I'm like, ain't that shit like $800 to $1,000 a month for some people? I'm like, VA don't just hand shit out. And any of you veterans out there know, VA does not just give any shit out for nothing. It's almost like you got to be dying for something, and even then they got to think about it. So I was quite surprised when they actually offered me that medication, and they said, you have Ozempic, you have Wegovy, and then she goes, but you're gonna probably be better suited for Zepbound. She goes, that'd probably be better for you, because I guess they use the other ones for true diabetics and things like that, and maybe some part of that supply and demand. So I take they after about maybe 10 days or something like that, but close to 2 weeks, I probably got my first shipment. And once I got that, I got I took my, I guess I started my first one on a Saturday, but let me go back a second. Prior to that, I did a lot of research on it, and I was like making sure I understand all the fundamentals, the side effects. I like to hear a lot of people's testimonies, like what they saw with this medication. And quite truthfully, you find some interesting shit out there. And everybody's different. One of the things I learned, it was like definitely want to make sure you have everything prepped. So any of you starting out on this stuff, prep yourself. You know, like what I was doing, I was making meals pre-portioned. You know, so everything is like clockwork. Because if you come home, you know, you're hungry, you're just gonna dig through the refrigerator and you're just gonna like, all right, let me just start making something. When you have to do it that way, you're likely gonna go over your limit. It just happens. So what I did was I took things like I made some shrimp, made some green beans and some rice, to give you an example of one of the meals, and I put them in those plastic bags with the vacuum sealer, sealed that up, and I did like three of those, three with a piece of fish, greens, and a carb. And I think another one was like just ground turkey to make like taco meat, and I use that with Spanish rice. Again, all portioned. So all you do is when dinner time comes, you come home, you drop that boil in a bag in a pot of water, boil it for about 20 minutes, instant meal, all nice and prepped, exactly where you need it. I had all that ready. I had like my little snacks, buying like beef or turkey sticks, you know, get those, almonds, sugar-free. I like cookies, but I get sugar-free, and I only have like 2 or 3 of them instead of the other versions, you know, like with the sugary variety where you eat 7 to 10 of them. That was where one of the problems would be. So anyway, what the ultimate issue was is that you know, it's not so much that I didn't know how to eat right. I understand what good nutrition is, and I can cover that during the day with, you know, prep meals and things like that. What it is you get that food noise, much like, you know, people that are addicted to, you know, drugs and stuff like that, where they have this issue with, it's calling to me, you know, I could be sitting there minding my business, just, you know, whether I'm playing a game or something on my PS4, watching a movie, a game, whatever it may be, and you just get up out of nowhere and you'll feel the need to eat something. And you get to a point where you're like, I know I'm not even hungry. Why the fuck am I trying to eat? And that's where the problem is. That's truly what food noise is. You don't know why you don't know why you're getting up to eat. It's just another voice calling to you, telling you, come have something to eat. You know? So it's real, you know? Those of you out there that are experience the same thing I am, you know, it's real. But that's the thing I need to turn down that food noise. So let me go to after this first shot. First of all, the big question becomes, I've seen people putting ice packs on them and stuff like that, trying to get ready. Look, you're not taking a fucking hypodermic needle, you know, or an elephant needle that long and injecting yourself with it. It's this little, I took a picture of it once. The thing's like the size, like, you know, those push pins. The needle itself is far, 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 far thinner than that. But it's about that length. However, it's so fine, you're not even going to feel it. I thought that. I'm thinking like, oh, I know this is going to sting. Because sometimes you get those little things where you poke your finger to test your blood for like cholesterol or things like that. You're thinking something like that. That would hurt a lot compared to this. Okay? It works on the same principle. It's a spring-loaded device that it's so quick. And the thing is, I start on my right side, right, outside the belly button area. You click, you unlock it, you click it once, and then the second time goes by itself. And it's just like, you feel that first little, you don't even feel it. And you're just like, okay, I didn't feel shit, but I'll hold it there because it says to. And then you'll see this little gray plunger. I could show you. See in here, you got like, it's clear right now, right? But what's going to happen is after you use it, there's a little gray plunger just pops up over here. And what that's going to do ultimately is that's when it's done. So let me put this back real quick. Sorry about that. Anyway, you get to see this little gray plunger show up in there, and that's telling you you're done. And then you move this thing away, and you're like, you start looking at yourself like, did that thing even work? Did that do anything? I hardly felt that, you know? It's doing something, and it goes in. And you'll know because later on, you get what I call, like, one of the first little side effects is what I like to call the Luke Skywalker syndrome. You're going about your business, everything seems cool, like, all right. So far, so good. About an hour later, all of a sudden, you'll be like, something's not right. I feel cold. That's the Luke Skywalker syndrome. And, yeah, you'll just feel cold for no reason whatsoever. You know, you walk out in the sunlight and you'll feel like you need a jacket even if it's 75 degrees out. It's weird, but it's part of the show. Well, part of the experience. First day, believe it or not, the first day, you pretty much be able to do what you've been doing. You're not going to really feel the need to have any kind of, like, you know, you're not going to feel any suppressed diet and all that shit. It takes time for this stuff to get your body familiar with it. And that's the first thing about this, too. This first 2.5 milligram dose. Now, there are people out there that are going to say, hey, I lost 15, 20 pounds in the first week. It will happen. I mean, everybody's different. It will happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen to you. It sure as hell didn't happen to me that way. But my first week, all total, is probably about 8 pounds. From 240 down to like 2... Actually, it was more, yeah, about 242. I'm sorry, yeah, no, I'm sorry. It was from 240 to like 232, which was good. And then from the second and third week, it was slow. It wasn't that rapid at all. I was like, oh shit, now all of a sudden things have slowed down. Probably got rid of a lot of water weight. But, by the second shot, a little bit better on appetite suppression. Like, you would feel full quick. You know, like, eat a small meal and you would feel full pretty fast. That I definitely did start to experience in the second week. And a little bit into the third, but not much. And after that, it was like, okay. And I didn't feel no nausea or anything like that. I don't get no constipation or anything like that. But I also take Miralax at night. So when I'm having my evening tea, I usually will mix that with Miralax, so that way you already have that covered. So anything because your motility and your digestion is slowed down. So things are designed to sit in your system longer to make you feel full longer. So a piece of advice is that when you get that full feeling, stop. Because if you go beyond that, that's when you're going to, that's allegedly when you're going to pay the price for it. So definitely take it, take that warning from your body telling you, all right, you've hit your limit. And you should be good to go overall. That's one of the key ways to stop nausea is one of the side effects, but from my understanding, from my research, it also happens when you're not used to it and you think you could eat a lot and you can't. And then you realize, if you go to an Outback or something, right? You eat to your heart's content. You feel like you walk out like, man, I'm stuffed. This is not the same thing. When you're not eating nearly that much and you're going to feel like that. And if you push beyond that, your body's going to let you know, sorry, pal, there's no exit this way. It's going up the other way. So that's important. So you definitely want to make sure that you prep your meals accordingly. And you eat just what you eat to satisfy, or eat to live, not live to eat. Follow that guideline. Little cuckoo clock in the background. Anyway, so like I said, I didn't see a whole lot of big side effects, thankfully. That means that I'm taking to it well. But just to say that, just because it's not a one-size-fits-all drug. Just because it worked well for me doesn't mean it's going to work well for everybody. Or if it worked well for the other guy doesn't mean it's going to work well for me either. Like I said, I lost 8, and that's where it tapped off. Now, as of today, which is the day after St. Patty's Day, no, I wasn't out drinking, so let's make sure we understand that. But it's at the day after St. Patty's Day, and I take my final 2.5 milligram this week on Saturday. That's when I chose to take it, because it gives you, throughout the weekend and early part of the following week. Because it does have a point where it tapers off. So what's going on with that is, after I take that last one, and here's the thing too, I tend to jump around a little bit, but here's the other thing too. It's that when you take these medications, at least for me, I feel that now I'm hearing the food noise. Not as brutal as I would normally, but like I'm trying to control it by myself. But right now I'm at that point where this is not really like at the effect level that it should be. But I understand too, at the same time, that this is also not going to be something that, it's not meant to do everything at this level. So let me just make sure that everybody understands that 2.5 milligram is really initially just to get your body familiar with it. It's like the medication goes in, shaking hands with everybody in your body and saying, hey, we're here to try to renovate the building. We just sending a few guys around to look over everything, for when our crew comes in, which would be the next dose up. And that's when they're going to start breaking the walls down, trying to get things right. Think of it like that, metaphorically. And that's what really it comes down to. Now, along the way, as these guys are inspecting the building, hey, you know what? See if you can knock that light out of the wall over there. Or some shit like that. Or, you know what? We don't need that door. Take that door and throw it out. Along the way, you might lose a couple of pounds. Just like, hey, if we can handle it, we'll do it. But otherwise, the wrecking crew is on its way. Again, colorful metaphors. But that's definitely what you have to take into mind with that, is that when you take this medication, it's not, the early dose is not your main goal. It's up. So yeah, and definitely make sure you have your meal preps. And I recommend get yourself some whey protein, boil yourself some eggs, get some beef sticks. I've done stuff like that, because that's definitely going to take a strong effect in terms of keeping you full, healthy, keeping your muscle mass up. And you definitely want to do some weight training, which I've already done that. So I got that area covered. You want to do that and do some weight training. Cardio's great too. So you definitely want to make sure you have that. As I said, I take Miralax at night. You can take fiber. You want to keep regularity as best as possible. Now, I don't know how strong the next dose up's going to be. I already have those here, but I still got to finish out my other one. And so far, no major side effects. So I will go with that as far as saying that. And let me leave you on this note, okay? If you ever get down to these levels where, you lose a significant amount of weight. Let's say you did lose 50, 60 pounds above, whatever it may be. And you start getting people coming up to you like, hey, you look fantastic. Wow. And then, some of them might try to be geniuses, like, first words out of their mouth, "You're on Ozempic, right?" Yeah. And, whether you choose to tell them outright or just say, okay, my philosophy, excuse my French, is like, and what if I am? What? Who gives a fuck? It's like, but I would put it quite mildly like this. It's like, how is it cheating? Right now, you're cheating yourself out of a good way of life and a good nutritional aspect for your overall health. I don't see how that's cheating. You know what cheating is to me? When on this program, when you take this medication, okay, you have to be mindful of keeping your protein levels up, making sure you're getting proper fiber, making sure you're getting proper sleep, making sure you're getting a lot of water. That's key. All right? Keeping records of everything that you're supposed to be doing. Now, when you're on a conventional diet, you can cheat. I can't go riding past the Burger King, and say, hey, you know what? Today I want to treat myself. You eat a half a hamburger when you're on those higher doses, you're going to feel like you're going to explode. So that's harder. Whereas the person on the conventional diet can say, you know what? Fuck it. And eat to your heart's content. It's like, and then you got to live with the regret that, man, I really let myself go. This shit ain't going to let you do that. It will cut off the food noise overall, and it's going to wind up to a point where you're going to feel full so quick you're not going to be able to eat that whole meal. So it's those of us that take this medication that are the ones that are getting cheated here, if anything. So it's it's nothing to be embarrassed about. I don't see where you could put a price on somebody trying to be healthy. Now, the people in Hollywood, in a way, they the ones that cheat, because they rely on that solely, and they don't even follow the propaganda that goes with it in terms of how you should be eating, how you should be exercising. A lot of them, they'll just take that, I don't feel hungry, and they'll just let themselves look anorexic. For those of us like myself, you want it slow and easy. You want it controlled. You don't want this rapid weight loss where you drop 50, 60 pounds in a friggin' month. That shit ain't healthy. And no, I don't want to have that sunk in face. I mean, you may be looking at me now, and I'm still I just registered at 2:30 today. So the good news is I'm at 10 pounds total since I started 3 weeks ago. But that's normal. That means it's slow and easy. So even at the end of the month, if I drop another pound or so, I could say 11, maybe 12 pounds in a month. Part of that was water weight. But when the next level comes in, it's going to be something more like I might start to see a different approach. Might be 2 pounds a week. I don't know how this is going to work. Never took the the 5 point. I don't know what this fucking 5.0 was. Talking engines. When I take the 5 milligram, that's going to be a different dose. It's going to be stronger. It's going to have a different effect. And that's when you start to hear these stories about where they say that's where the food noise gets suppressed more. So, as I digress, it's just, don't let people give you this bullshit that you're cheating. You're not. Be proud of what you do and say, yeah, I am. And you know what? Here's when a lot of the people that tell you shit like that, keep in mind, they're probably these people that they can't get the medication themselves, so they want to knock you for it. Like, yeah, you're cheating. But in their mind, they're saying, but if I could get that shit, I'd do it. I will. That's what, more times than many, especially if it's somebody that's probably heavy set too and they say you're cheating, it's because they can't get the medication probably through their insurance or anything like that. So be mindful of that. I don't give a shit if people ask me like, oh, do you take any of those medications? Like, yeah, I do. I take Zepbound. It's like, it's to shut off the food noise for me. Everybody's got different reasons. Some for diabetics, some are for people to cut the food noise, and some want appetite suppression. It's a tool. Remember that. It's a tool. Use it as a tool and let, it'll serve you right. And these people get this false sense of reality where they think that you jab yourself with this shit, and it's like, just watch the fat melt away. Don't work like that. A lot of discipline comes out of this shit. So anyway, that's my merely month one report on this stuff, and I want to keep you guys posted as to what the future results are with this whole thing, and hopefully that my quest. I don't use the term term journey. Like everybody with their. So as I embark on my Zepbound or Wegovy journey, fuck the journey. I'm on a quest for weight loss and knowledge. I want to learn how to do things right. But to each their own, that's what I say. It's like everybody's welcome to their own thing, but I like to always go against the grain a little bit. I don't like to always be exactly the same as everybody else that does these reports on this stuff. But everybody I've definitely done my share of looking through a lot of videos, so it's like I want to learn from these people as much as anybody wants to learn from me. And again, I didn't see a whole lot of people out there that are veterans that are taking this stuff, so that's why I wanted to offer a little insight on that. And that's how it works with me. VA, then for those of you out there that are veterans, yeah, the VA, expect a lot of appointments with these teleconferencing and talking to dietitians, talking to people for the pharmacy. You're gonna they don't give you shit for nothing in the VA, so they expect to get their cut, and that means your time, and you got to make sure you're staying up with them on things. Otherwise, you're out of the program, buddy. So just make sure when they give you appointments, you stay on top of that stuff. And if you got any kind of questions on that, feel free to ask, especially those of you veterans out there that might be going through the same process as well. But it's not a big deal, and I think it's going to be a unique experience. My goal is by the end of the year, hopefully, I'll see at least. I would love to be down by November, to be like even September. I'd love to be down to at least close to 200 pounds from 230. It's possible. I mean, I've heard of people doing it, so we'll see, and I will keep you guys posted. But that is all we got for today. Peace